Hey you guys, my name is KB Epps. That is the pen name I am going under for my books that I am writing. And I just wanted to come on here and honestly do one of those take my journey with me because I am an aspiring, traditionally published author. I am a self-published author. I did self-publish a self-help career book called The Boss Up Effect, and it is available on Amazon and Barnes & Nobles for helping Black professionals take control of their careers, essentially. It was based on my time as a career coach with the firm that I had that I've since dissolved, and essentially I took the 10 sessions from my career coaching and put it into book format because it wasn't my passion, but I really wanted people just to have that information. And I've been writing my whole life. Literally, I've been writing books since I was in elementary school, whether it was picture books, middle grade books, young adult, and psychological thrillers within the adult category. And so here I am. I will give more details of those books in the next video, but for this video is the top 10 things, mistakes, do-nots/do's for aspiring authors. And these are things that I've just found on my journey in querying agents over the last 2 years. And so I started off querying one book that I made plenty of mistakes with, and now I'm querying a separate book that has had way more positive reception. And so I'm just going to walk you through the things that I have found being on this end of it that will help you as you're getting started on your journey so that you don't have to go through all the pains and trials and tears and just heartache that I did last year. So, number one, research. Research is the name of the game for this whole thing, but researching the word count of your genre. This is basic, and this is something that you will be denied right off the bat for if you have not done this prior to querying whatever agent that you're talking to. So, if you're psychological thriller, if you're whatever genre, you need to look up the word count that is the most common for these books. Now, I will say outside of like middle grade, sci-fi, fantasy, books like that, that are actual novels, the word count is usually anywhere between 70,000 to 100K. 88K is usually the sweet spot for these novels. And so I had to find that out the hard way last year because the book I wrote was 137,000 words. And at that point, they're like, it either needs to be 2 books or it's in the wrong category. But, yeah, I was denied real quick from some of those people. But I'll get into that in the next video. So, first things first, research the word count for your genre. Don't worry about page numbers, and things like that, because depending on how your publisher, your editor, whatever, how they size the book, that'll determine the page numbers. But the word count is what they're actually looking at and what an agent will decide if they want to take your work on or not, if it needs too much editing, whatever. Number 2, research the agent that you're actually going to query. Query Tracker and Query Manager are two platforms where you can go and find agents. Query Manager, let me look, I have it pulled up. Let's see. So Query Tracker is where you actually go to find the agents. Query Manager is what the agents utilize for you to submit your queries. And that's the other thing. So know how they submit, how they take your queries. You can either email them, you can either submit through Query Manager, or they may have an online form. There are some agents who still do snail mail, but that may take a minute, and if they offer a digital way to do it, I would do it through technology. But again, read their website, look up the agent themselves, make sure that they represent your genre, because if you're querying people who do not work within the genre that you're trying to do, you're automatically going to get denied. They're going to feel like you don't read and follow directions. That's not going to bode well for you. So make sure they represent your category, and then if you can, go through and actually look at the authors that they represent or the type of books that they represent. A lot of these websites will have the picture of the cover of the novels on there, and you can kind of tell based on that what those categories are, or you just click on the book and read the little excerpt about it, and you can tell like, oh, this is a thriller, or this seems like something that's middle grade, blah blah blah. And then you can find the agent from there. Another way to find the agent is if you have books that you're looking at, which we'll come to another point. So say your favorite book is something by Frida McFadden. Who's her agent? Half the time, they acknowledge their agents in the acknowledgments. So if you have a book that's great, that fits your category, that you're like, oh, it's a similar book to mine, look up that agent through the actual author, and then go find them on the website and see if they're accepting queries. Okay? So that's number 2. And then number 3, double check the agency itself to make sure you can query more than one person. So this is really important, because if the person that you really want to query is not accepting them right now, say they're on vacation or whatever, their queries are just off, and you end up querying somebody else in the agency and they deny your manuscript, that means you really just shot your chance out the door with that agency, and you can no longer send them that same material. And so now you have to wait until you write a whole nother novel to send the agent that you really wanted your materials. And so make sure that the agency does or doesn't, either way, allows you to submit to more than one person. Now, none of them will let you submit simultaneously, so you can't hit up one agent and then query another one at the same time. You have to wait till somebody denies your query, and then you can query a separate agent who you're like, oh, this person may be a good second fit. There's a few agencies that are like that, where you'll have somebody who's like, ooh, this is my number one person, and then if they don't work out, then this will be my second person I hit up. A lot of times I'll let you know if they share queries between them. So if a no is from one of them, is from all of them, essentially. So just do your best to figure out who you think will match up, and that they, really represent your genre, and things like that. Speaking of genre, number 4, do your research of the genre itself. Okay. What really helped me with this round of querying compared to my first round of querying is that I took the time to actually research books that were psychological thrillers that have come out in the last few years. So when you're querying an agent, they will always ask you what books are similar to the one that you wrote. And so that means you have to know who the authors are, you have to know the type of books there are, obviously know the titles, because these are things that you put in your query letter when you're writing out to them. Essentially, they're looking to see who can they put your book next to in the bookstore, on a bookshelf. Where will your book fit in the category? So make sure you're doing your research. I read 4 or 5 different books that were on the same topic as my book within psychological thrillers before I wrote my book. And then I was reading some books simultaneously as I was writing it, and some of those authors influenced how the style of the book. And I just cherry picked little things from each author that I really loved how they did, whether it was how they did their twist or how they set up the formatting of the book, things like that. Is very, very helpful to an agent especially when they're pitching your book to a publisher, to convince them like, hey, they'll be like this person. We can put them over here, blah, blah, blah. So set yourself up for success. Research the genre. The next thing, number 5, know your target audience. So this kind of goes with number 4. They'll also ask you this in your query letters. So who do you think your target audience is? Essentially, that just means like, you know, are they the same as like fans of John Grisham? If you're like a detective or a lawyer, you know, whatever. If you're writing a type of series, you know, if it's like a Junie B. Jones, you know, whatever it is, know the type of audience. It could be suburban moms. It could be fans of Freida McFadden, you know, depending on your genre and depending on books that are similar to yours. That's kind of really how you'll figure out who your audience is. So young adult, you know, people who love like erotic things, whatever. That's good to know, just to help you hone in as you're doing your search. 6, very, 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 very important, because I did not do this until like the 8th round of edits for my first book that I was querying out to people last year. And I did it right off the bat this time. Hire a professional beta reader and editors. Okay. So some people will ask you legit, like the agent that I'm querying right now, or that I just queried, this is the agent of one of the people who really influenced how I wrote my book. And on their query manager, they ask like, have you had your book professionally edited? Have you had your book read by outside readers, beta readers, you know, whatever, however they put it. And then like, you know, have you had your book, blah, blah, blah. And these are required questions you say yes or no to. Everyone doesn't ask you that, but they'll put it somewhere on their website, like, you know, or if they have like a top tips blog, having it professionally read. I say get somebody off of Fiverr, because these are people who've been in the industry, or they've been beta reading, or like they got the degree in this stuff. Also research them too. I am not getting sponsored by Fiverr, but this is literally what I've done to help me with my books. And I got several of them off of Fiverr this time before I queried this current book. And the first person I queried wanted my full manuscript, right? And I had people across the spectrum. So I had somebody who was in Nigeria, I had men, I had women, I had people who were mothers that I didn't even realize it. But they made mention of it because one of the big themes of my book is motherhood. And so that also can be part of your target audience. You know, when you have your beta readers, who are the type of people who read your book? Did they really like your book? They can be part of your target audience, right? So again, I would go with somebody who's professional versus just trying to have your friends and family do it, because I had friends and family, on a Facebook page that I created specifically for people to read my books. And even though they mean well, they don't take it seriously. And so, I mean, unless you're going to pay them to do it, which, you know, could be more beneficial, but I just decided to go with people who I know are professionals, who know what to look for. One of the people who read my book was a traditionally published author, and all of them gave my book a 5 out of 5, you know, and all of them said that my book was one of the best books they've read. So that right there lets you know, like, I did my research, I looked into the genre properly, I wrote the book in a way that resonates with people, and I'm on the right track. So, the next step, number 7, along with number 6, is to have whoever is beta reading your stuff sign an NDA or some type of written understanding that you own all of the rights to your materials, all the intellectual property of all the materials that are shared, edited, whatever, the final product, whatever it is. That's just to protect yourself. Now, obviously, like, you know, people on Fiverr usually aren't sketchy, but if you're getting someone, I don't know, just play it safe. Have them sign an NDA. and then, or just, have them type out and confirm that they understand that all the materials and rights are yours. And they have none to your materials. Number 8. This is a good one. So if you feel like your book is going to be a film, a TV series, has that type of potential, I would research the books that have been turned into a movie, a series, what have you. Because then you can understand what publishers and agents and stuff like that are looking for, and you can understand how they went from one to the other. I'll leave it at that. Number 9. Number 8, 9, and 10 all go together. The business is very subjective, okay? You will not receive feedback 9 times out of 10. Now, I will say this time around, I have been getting feedback from people that lets me know I am in the right area. Like, I'm just one no closer to my yes. So when I wrote this current book, I knew off the bat, like, this is my bestseller. This is my internationally best-selling book. This is a book that can be made into films, TV, whatever the hell, right? And so look those things up. It is a very subjective business. And they'll tell you that when you get your rejection letters, or they'll even put that out on their submissions part of their websites, because what's great to one may not be great to another. Like I said, the first agent I queried wanted my full manuscript. The next agent I queried, it wasn't their cup of tea. And I will say the people I've gotten rejections from this time around haven't really been like the perfect fit for the book. And I will say, like, it is kind of good to throw some of them in there just to see. But mainly you want to make sure that you have people who are within your genre. And some of the feedback I've gotten for this book is just like, oh, there's a similar book out there and a film and TV came out about it, blah, blah, blah. Which I appreciate all the feedback I've gotten from agents, because they really don't have to do that. But that just let me know that my book has that potential, and that somebody else is going to see it and they're going to want it and they're going to take it there. They just didn't feel comfortable because they felt like it was too similar to something else. But how many movies have come out with fatal attraction tendencies? How many stores have opened that are selling cheeseburgers? You know what I'm saying? So it's not a bad thing. And then 10, our last one. Do your due diligence. Do your due diligence and do not give up. Follow these things I have said. Do your research, do your research, do your research, and you will be a lifetime ahead of other people who are just out there doing it like I did it last year. You'll save yourself some heartache and pains, and you'll get feedback early on, know what you need to change, know what you're doing well, and then just get back at it. Do some edits, get back out there. Bonus. Keep track of all of the people that you have queried. So I have a spreadsheet with an agency name, the agents, the date I queried them, how I queried them, because a lot of times when they send you rejections, a lot of times when you submit your query, they will tell you if you don't hear back within 4 to 8 weeks, or if you don't hear back within 12 weeks, poke us, or if you don't hear back within 12 weeks, that means that I'm passing on your book. So if you're keeping track of when you're submitting to these people, then you'll kind of know like where you are in that area and whether or not you're supposed to hit them up, or if that means they passed. And then you can query another agent from that agency, or you just move on to somebody else. So keep track in a tracker. And yeah, it'll be very helpful. So good luck. Like, subscribe, come to my page. I will be keeping you guys abreast as I'm going through this journey. It is a tough one, but do not give up. Believe in yourself, believe in your art, believe in your work. It is a very subjective business. Somebody out there is going to say yes. So just don't get discouraged as much as you can. I believe in you.